day, everyone. Welcome to the Promised Land Podcast. This is Zar from Jindere Beats.
Also known as Jet, and this is John from. Oh my, it's John. I forgot my own. Also known as Joey. And today we're gonna talk about is one of the most extensive hobbies when we were kids. Something that even adults, young people and adults alike, dived in and connected many kids to their dads or moms.
Yeah.
Yes, it's mini four-wheel drive.
Yep.
Okay. Here in the Philippines, extensively known as Tamiya.
Yeah, it is commonly referred to as Tamiya, but Tamiya is just one brand.
Yeah, it's a brand, and there are other brands like Aldi, and we're gonna talk about it later. So, what is mini four-wheel drive? So, mini four-wheel drives are little model cars that have their own motor. Yeah, their own motors, and they are actually not that patterned to real cars. Though there are some mini four-wheel drives that are patterned in via real cars. Some mini four-wheel drives operate by having a series of gears and a working motor. And what differentiates it from RC cars is that mini four-wheel drives, once you turn on the switch, it just runs by itself. Unlike RC cars where you control it by yourself using a remote control apparatus.
Well, another thing that's different with mini four-wheel drives is that they have predefined racetracks.
Mm-hmm.
Each car that races have their own lane, and the car is independent. Once you set the mini four-wheel drive onto the racetrack, it will drive by itself because it just continuously spins its wheels once you turn it on, and the track will guide it. It will guide it through the corners, and what will decide the winner is basically how the car is set up. Because one thing about these mini four-wheel drives is that they're super customizable. You can use a variety of customization parts to improve their performance, increase their weight, their cornering ability, and so on.
Also, contrary to popular belief, mini four-wheel drives have been around the world for a long time now. It only popularized here in the Philippines at around the 90s or early 2000s because of the anime. But mini four-wheel drives have been created since 1982. The earliest was July 13. Excuse me po. 1982 with the advent of the mini four-wheel drive Ford Ranger 4x4. Again, I told you earlier that there are some modeled after real cars. So, the first one was the Ford Ranger, released at the same time as the Chevrolet pickup 4x4. Then, after that, they continued to evolve further into a competitive scene, as seen by Tamiya's racing mini four-wheel drives, the first one being Hot Shot Jr., Next, that was around June 16, 1986. Then Avante Jr., December 15, 1988. Then, by the 90s, they started doing the fully cowled series. And these are the Tamiya, quote-unquote, mini four-wheel drive cars that we have known to love. The first ever was the Sonic Sabre in September 7, 1994. So, there are other milestones for Tamiya back then, as well as the Mini 4-Wheel Drive Pro and the Mini 4-Wheel Drive Rev, REV. But these are later on, and the what we really wanted to talk about right now is the advent, the part of time where here in the Philippines it became so big that the whole country was just addicted to mini four-wheel drive racing. So what started the craze, Zar?
Well, it's basically the anime, to be honest. I didn't know anything about the hobby
Mhm.
itself, but GMA got the rights for Bakuso Kyodai Let's and Go, and it all started with that. It's the story is about two brothers who entered the competitive world of mini four-wheel drive racing. Now, this anime holds a very special place in my heart because it introduced me to the hobby. Now, just uh, just to be clear, I did not participate competitively.
Yeah, that
It-
was that was my end of the conversation. But yeah,
in mini four-wheel drive, but the reason why I got into it is because of the anime. And in the anime, instead of just setting down the cars on the racetrack, the characters themselves would run along with the cars to get to the goal.
it's either they're really fast or their motors were really slow. So I think it's the kids themselves having the speed of like what 100 meters per second. That's insane. The motors for real mini four wheel drives are insanely fast, and I don't know how they portrayed it on the anime that they're running with the extremely fast cars because again it was a race.
Yeah, and compared to the real ones, once you set that onto the track, you will have difficulties tracking it on the
Mhm.
racetrack. It's that fast. But in the anime, it seems that the car would go as fast as the character who owns it. So they had to run across the racetrack along with their cars. They need to monitor the cars.
Mhm.
Each car had its own special move. And what I like about this is that it's overly dramatic. It's a very dramatic anime, and it all centers on the hobby, mini four wheel drives, and especially some characters like let me drop some characters here. Jay. There's this character who's he was trained scientifically trained to become the best four-wheel drive racer, mini four-wheel drive racer ever. So he underwent scientific training to achieve that level of perfection.
Using
and,
his proto saber.
and his proto saber is like a mechanical model. It actually has special features, because a mini four-wheel drive car is composed of the gears, the chassis, the wheels, the battery, and the motor, basically.
And the case.
And the case, okay. Now, it doesn't have any electronics in it, really. It's just simple gears and
Yes,
motors.
it's basically an analog representation of a car. But with Proto Saber,
Yeah, with Proto Saber, it has advanced electronics, and it can actually move independently in the racetrack and target other cars behind
Mhm.
it because it had this incredibly powerful air cannon that can actually shoot other cars behind it and destroy them. Also, of course, there's that character who owns the beak spider.
mhm,
Come on, everybody!
it just jumps.
The beak spider's like, I have to say it's the edgiest car
Yeah,
in the anime.
and I think it's the most known mini four wheel drive model here in the Philippines. For some reason, whenever I ask someone, "Hey, did you own a Tamiya before?" They said, "Oh yeah, Big Spider."
Because the beak spider, when it came into the story, it's like this character who owned the beak spider. He's a super antagonist. Like Kai is like the omega of the antagonists because his car can destroy other cars just by passing them in the racetrack. They get instantly destroyed because the beak spider sort of produces this
Wind cutter.
yeah, the wind cutter. It's like a blade made of wind force. There's one car that can there's only one car that can counter this effectively, and I believe that's the Spin Cobra.
Yeah, and actually, when they got the Z material.
Oh, the Z. This is for Tridagger,
Yes.
right?
When apparently Tridagger is a victim of a lot of mini 4-wheel drive attacks in the anime. First, it was targeted by J. Then, when they got the Z material, well, before that, Tridagger was already in shambles, or was because of J's targeting. Suddenly, Akai had a deep rivalry with the owner of Tridagger again, who is
Yeah.
Rio. And he was the one who massively massacred Tridagger X, the mini 4-wheel drive of Rio. Then when they got the Z material,
Yeah.
it seems that the Wind Cutter can't murder Neo Tridagger again.
Neo Tridagger sort of gained the downforce ability. It's like it can manipulate downforce really well, so it stays on the track no matter what, and anything that uses wind cannot affect it.
That's why he also became one really strong competitor of Jet and Joey, because after the arc when they started using like wind power,
Yeah.
I think the brothers, the protagonists, also adapted that. Thus, the birth of Hurricane Sonic and Cyclone Magnum.
Oh yeah. By the way, Jet and Joey are the main characters. It's just that the side characters are so interesting. But yeah,
They're more interesting than the
main
brothers,
characters,
yes, for some reason.
But Jet and Joey, let's talk about Jet and Joey briefly here, because I still want to go back to Rio for a bit. Jet and Joey. Jet owns the Sonic.
Yeah, Jet
Sonic
in
Saber.
Japanese is Retsu Seiba.
Retsu. Yeah.
Here it was Jet Seiba, and Go Seiba. That's why it's Let's and Go.
Yep.
Retsu and Go. Joey Seiba is the owner of the Magnum series. So while Jet has the Sonic series,
yeah.
They started with both the Sonic Saber and the what do you call this? Magnum Saber.
Yeah.
Then evolved into
Vanguard Sonic.
then Victory Magnum.
Victory Magnum.
Then after that, they had the Cyclone and the Hurricane Sonic and Cyclone Magnum.
Yeah.
That was shown at the first season. No, first arc. First season, last arc. That's where they get the Hurricane and Cyclone.
Yep.
Then after that, they went just insane. Then there's just new types of the Magnum and Sonic, and as well as the other characters like Rio got the Rising Trigger.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the mini 4-wheel drive models all have edgy names. It's just that insane.
And however, even if the brothers' machines got upgraded every now and then, their quirks still remain the same. Magnum is the best when it comes to straight lines.
It's
basically
the
it's
speediest.
the speediest, yeah. And Sonic is the more technical car. Basically, it's the master of curves.
It's so
turns.
stable as fuck. It's they had this. I remember one of the episodes in the show. They had like a challenge where Sonic just sped through all the technical courses while Joey's Magnum just jumped and went straight ahead.
Yeah.
They have each of their quirks reflect their own personality as well.
Yep.
So for Rio, because of being like a very solitary, Rio's like a wanderer. I don't know how he got the money to get a mini 4-wheel drive. He just wins.
I think the professor was
yeah.
experimenting on a new type of material, and they want basically he gave another saber to someone else, and that's the Tridagger X. You remember how Tridagger X
Yes.
actually appeared?
It was so awesome because Rio wanted to have a rivalry with Go. Joey.
Yeah.
But then he just, because he was somewhat of a chaotic good character.
Yeah.
He wasn't like a nice character. He became entangled with a lot of different problems, and he's the one being targeted because he was given as a prototype of the professor, which was one of the best mini four-wheel drive professors out there. That's why his car keeps on getting targeted by either Jay, um, Kai, or people from the Ogami Corp.
Yeah. And if Joey had Rio as a rival, Retsu or
Spin
Jet
Viper.
had his own rival as well. It's this rich kid. His name is Tokichi in the Japanese anime. His name is Tokichi. I don't remember what his name was in the when it got
he's the one who looks like a
localized here.
monkey.
Yeah, he looks like a monkey. He's actually my favorite.
Mhm.
And his starting machine is the Spin X, and it's a master of cornering as well. So
Mhm.
you have Tridagger. Basically, Tridagger is also good at high speed courses, basically straight courses, just like Magnum, and Spin X is also good with technical courses, just like Sonic. Now, funny thing is, when you watch the anime, all of these cars had powers. Okay, like they're like very exaggerated representations of their skills. Like when Magnum has the spin move, it will spin in air. Yeah,
It will just rise up. Then every time go Cyclone Magnum, it's
it
gonna
will just jump.
and go turn and speed up like massively. And Vanguard Sonic, or rather Hurricane Sonic, just owns all the turns,
Yeah.
like insanely. And what's funny because Hurricane Sonic doesn't lose speed even when turning,
Yeah,
so it has the perfect turn.
what I like
That
about
is so weird.
with Spin X,
Mm.
the thing I
With
like
Spin
about
X.
it is it bounces.
Yeah, it bounces.
That's its quirk. It actually bounces on the corners, so it can actually manage corners really
Mhm.
quickly. And Tridagger, it just sort of just lowers itself
Yeah,
because the airflow kind of uses the airflow to speed itself
Yeah,
up, so it lowers itself.
it tries to play around the aerodynamics of the story for some reason. So again, we mentioned a lot of brands or a lot of things inside the anime that can be related here in real life, especially the models of the what do you call this, mini four-wheel drive cars itself. So getting back on the hobby, uh, we had models based on what we saw in the anime. So the again, I mentioned earlier the fully cowled mini four-wheel drive series, and they started in 1994. And the Bakuso Kyodai the Let's and Go anime fully used these from Tamiya, a massively big mini four-wheel drive producer, and probably they started the trend of producing mini four-wheel drives. So some of the notable were again the Sabers,
Yep.
Magnum Saber, Sonic Saber, Tridagger X, the Black Saber, Spinax, Proto Saber JB. For some
Oh
reason,
my
I don't know
God.
what JB means. So Neo Tridagger ZMC.
Oh yeah, the
That
Neo-
was ZMC
yeah.
material. Z material something C. So Neo Tridagger ZMC was the most, what do you call this, sought after material, or sought after back then when Beak Spider arrived.
Yes, because it's the only material that can resist the air blade.
Mhm, the air blade. Then, oh yeah, there's the fighter Magnum. Well, I don't know what happened to that. It doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, I don't remember
Hmm.
that one.
Then there's the Brocken Gigant.
Oh yeah.
Well, the Brocken Gigant in the anime just crushes enemies.
Yeah.
If the Beak Spider mercilessly cuts through everything in a very like elegant effort, for some reason, Broken Giant just ups and goes to the back of a car and just crushes it with the front of the Broken Gigant.
Yeah, it's like the hood actually separates itself. It kind of turns like into a jaw or something.
And
It just snaps onto the car and destroys it.
It's weird, but it reflects the quirks of the hobby, because in real mini four wheel drive racing, there are other the chassis differs from each mini four-wheel drive car.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of chassis out there. There's for what's familiar here in the Philippines, we're familiar with the Super Series, and they were like the Super One.
Yes,
And
this is the first ones.
the Sabers.
Yeah, the Sabers, Big Spider,
Mhm.
all of these cars use the Super 1.
Then it actually had the Super 2, but it doesn't really affect that much. It's basically a upgraded Super 1, doesn't have the side skirts anymore.
Yeah.
Then we get the Super TZ. This is one of the most popular. These involve the Neo Tri-Dagger and the Vanguard and Victory series.
Yep.
Then the Super FM. This is what I was telling you about. Super FM, the front motor chassis was the chassis of a Brocken Gigant.
Yeah.
So that's why its front side was so powerful, because the motor was there.
Yeah.
For some reason, they give it, I don't know why they give it that power.
Well, just to be clear, most of these chassis had the motors at the back.
Mm-hmm.
However, the
Not
Super,
most, all of them except
for the Super FM. That's the specialty of the Super FM. The Super FM had the motor at the front.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it has more traction when going
Possibly.
uphill, maybe.
And I don't know if the VS chassis also had. This is the Victor Sprint chassis, which was it performed similarly to the Super One.
Yeah.
Then there's the best chassis of all. Czar doesn't approve of this, but Super X chassis is for me, Super X chassis is the best one of all, because you can easily change motors. It's the side skirts. I call them side skirts. Lets you input 2 additional what do you call this? Rollers, and the front has 4 slots for rollers, and the back has 2 plus an additional slot for bearings at the bottom. So it's a really stable chassis. The only problem is Super X chassis has this. If you loosen up your motor slot a lot, the motor might come down, but it's easily you can easily patch it or make a small What I did was make a small metal to fasten up the
engine door.
the engine door, and just screw it with screw.
Yeah.
It's basically something competitive players do. Yeah.
Okay, let me explain why I hate it. Okay, with mini 4-wheel drives, a mini 4-wheel drive car is composed of the chassis, the wheels, the gears, the battery, and the motor. And then, of course, the body
case.
of the car itself, the one that gives it its own identity. Now, the Super X, the main quirk why a lot of people like this is because the engine door is actually underneath the car itself, so you don't have to unfasten the body, you don't have to remove the batteries anymore. You can just switch out the motor right away. Now, of course, that's not really the real reason why a lot of people like the Super X. The reason why they like the Super X is because it has the X, the letter X, because everybody was an edgy boy back in the day.
No, it was really good for competitive racing. It was really good. Seriously.
Okay,
and it's light. It's lighter. It's lighter
It
than
is.
all the other chassis out there.
It is lighter because it had a lot of holes in it, but okay, the durability is not that good. It can break easily. Now, for me, the best chassis back in the day
TZ.
was the Super TZ. Now, why? Because it's very durable, but it's heavier than the Super X, obviously. And in order for you to remove the engine,
It
the
involves
motor,
so much work.
you have to
man.
unfasten. You have to unfasten the body. You have to remove the batteries, and then you can then remove the engine casing. Now, But what I like about it is it's a very solid chassis. I never broke a TZ chassis before, unlike the X. I had bad experiences with the X chassis, but it once you hold the machine with an X chassis in your hand,
It just feels different.
it feels so good, and
Mhm.
you won't actually go back to other chassis
Yes.
because it's very convenient. It's just that it breaks.
Also, there's a thing also with chassis. There are like best motors. Even though you can use any motor
Mm.
for each chassis, there are best motors. For example, for Super TZ's solid build, so it's heavier. It has a solid build for the what do you call this? The motor.
Yeah.
You can actually use really fast motors on that one.
Yeah.
But you will trade it with more. You need to make your mini 4-wheel drive lighter, and or rather balance it with bearings, because for some reason Super X doesn't. That's why it broke. I think yours broke. If you use motors like Plasma Dash on it, it will easily fly off the circuit. We need what us Super X users did was to seriously give heavy bearings at the front and the back, and a stabilizer at the sides, so it won't break. But again, it's a quirk for competitive racing, and seriously, you don't use Plasma Dash every time. It's stupid. Seriously, sorry Plasma Dash users. I know you love that motor, but you just don't use it every time. Wow.
I remember my first car.
Mhm.
My first car was a Super TZ fully cowled Mini 4-wheel drive. It's the Fire Stinger. And I loved
Girl.
it. Yeah, in the box, I did not see this before I bought it. It was actually owned by a girl, although I never got to see that character in the anime or in the manga. Now, what's good about it is it's so shiny,
Mhm.
and I loved it so much. I used to carry a rag with me, and I would just keep on buffing, polishing, buffing the body so that it will shine. Now, my friend comes along, visits me, and tells me that he finally bought a Plasma Dash. Okay? Now, I'm not a competitive racer, alright? I didn't have the money to purchase all of the reinforcements that I needed back in the day to be able to compete. Of course, I wanted to see my car go fast, so I had him install the Plasma Dash on my Fire Stinger, my precious Fire Stinger.
That's so wrong. It's
Yeah.
so
It was so funny because I just had the basic shit on my car, like just a couple of metal plates, the front and the back plates. Also aluminum rollers.
No ball bearings at
No.
at all.
No, fuck that. No. So what happened was I placed the Fire Stinger. I used the Fire Stinger on. I actually played with a few kids, and there was a local racing circuit back at home. What happened was the moment I placed my car on the racetrack, it actually won a couple of laps. Like, you can no longer see my car in the racetrack. Like, it was so
just
fast.
zoomed, yeah.
It was so fast. I was like so happy. But at the end, it sort of gained extreme momentum. But and it hit this sharp turn so badly that it flew off the track and cut my Fire Stinger in half.
That is one of the saddest Tamiya story
It
ever.
broke my Fire Stinger, and my friend was just, he was sorry for me, but he was also laughing, but he was sorry for me. And I asked him, I told him that you better help me find a new machine. Like,
What did you get after?
oh,
Yeah, say it.
I got a Super X. Super X.
See? We all end up there.
I got a Super X Aero model. It's the Rising Trigger.
You got one of the edgiest names ever, man.
I just had to get the racing trigger because it looks
It looks so good.
it
Seriously.
looked so good,
Especially the wheels.
Yeah.
The part on the wheels is it's kind of like raced, and it looks so good. Seriously.
it looked so good, and it was all black,
Mm-hmm.
perfect for the Super X. So it's like super edgy.
It's one of the edgiest cars.
You have racing trigger. It's called the racing trigger.
See? It just looks so good.
Yeah, it looks so good. And I didn't even put the stickers on it.
Yeah.
It's just pure black, and I was like, polishing it, buffing
Again
it
with
all
your-
the time.
Again with your so. Okay, so
How about you?
my first ever was the Phantom Blade.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's blue. I didn't put the stickers on it, but I was really pissed off when I saw the Phantom Blade Black Special.
Oh yeah, the
That-
black special.
The Black Special was really good looking.
Okay, let me tell you why people buy the Phantom.
No. First, wait. The Phantom Blade is one of the, competitively speaking, it's one of the most solid when it comes to speed and turn ratio balance.
Yeah.
Because the case itself is aerodynamically designed. So there's a push through curves, and again, it's blade. It looks like a blade. Okay, I know what Czar's gonna say. It looks like a blade. It's so edgy as fuck. Okay? But that because of that blade, what do you call this design?
Yeah.
Like in airplanes, it's
Yeah.
blade design. It's really fast, but not sacrificing. What do you call this? What do you call this?
Air resistance,
No.
or you're talking about
The
stability?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not sacrificing the stability. So it's one of the things that you can fit a plasma dash with. But in my case, I'm not really a fan of the speed courses. I'm a massive fan of technical courses. That's why I got the Phantom Blade. It can go fast even on courses that were really technical, with a lot of turns, especially a lot of hairpin turns. It just owned there, man. And I used Rev tuned, Torque tuned, and Mac Dash. I didn't like Plasma Dash. Again, sorry guys.
Okay, now let me disregard all of that and let me explain the real reason why he bought this thing. Alright?
Fuck you.
Okay, not only does it use the most edgiest chassis out there, the Super X, and the name is also edgy as fuck. Phantom Blade. Now, on top of that, in the anime, or rather in the manga, the Phantom Blade is owned by a couple of ninjas. Okay? So, disregard everything that John just said. Okay? The real reason why he bought this is because it's a ninja car. Let's not kid ourselves here.
Okay, next part. Again, I didn't own a Plasma Dash. And I'm good with the Mac Dash. They say that the Mac Dash is the second most powerful motor out there. The Plasma Dash is just insanely strong, that you need a lot of tweaking on your car just to make it stabilize really good.
Oh,
I had the Mac Dash, yes.
let me segue a bit.
Mhm.
Remember when the bootlegs came out?
Yeah.
There's this Puma Killer or something.
There's also the Crown Dash. Fit for Kings. Crown Dash.
The Killer's like this the bootleg counterpart of the
That's
Plasma
what
Dash.
Puma Killer. Damn.
I can't remember the exact name. It sort of sounded like that. It's fucking fast, but I remember one of my friends saying that his car smelled so bad after using it.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with the what they call this? The motor inside the dynamo itself.
Yeah.
It just smells so bootleg.
I remember when somebody figured out that you had to actually
Rewind.
You had to rewind. Not
Mhm.
only that, you had to actually dip it in some sort of
Oil.
oil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to actually submerge the
some
motor.
some thing. What we put on was monkey grease. You can use monkey grease for that. And there's actually a grease you can buy at these shops, but they cost a lot more. So we just use regular old monkey grease. Just make sure that you wipe it after. Then there's also the rewind technique. I have a rev tuned rewind and a torque tuned rewind. I didn't rewind the Mac Dash just because it's just fast. I just want the speed on it. And again, for technical terms. Then after the Phantom Blade, I got the Max Breaker. It's another Super X. And again, what it looks like, its body was so good for technical turns. Don't laugh, you fucking ass. Look, it's just good. Then the Shadow Breaker. Shadow Breaker is just insane and weird looking, so I got the Max Breaker instead. See,
I would prefer the Shadow Breaker because if I'm gonna go edgy, I'm gonna go
all
hard
the way.
edge.
You're gonna go all the way. What the fuck is Max Breaker Violet Sword? Oh, what the fuck? Even the wheels were violet.
Yeah, basically with these mini 4-wheel drives, the models themselves, when you look at them, they look so unique because of the body. And what Tamiya would do is they would release special editions that are
Phantom Blade Black Special was seriously really good.
Yeah. These special editions had different colors,
different stickers as
well. I believe the Gunbluster had a special edition, I think.
As well as Big Spider Zebra.
Yeah.
There's a reverse color edition for the zebra thing, which reflected the old look of the Big Spider issues. Big Spider Zebra Black Special or something like that. Then, speaking of which, we talked about the chassis and the motors. Again, we talked about the different kinds of chassis before. Then I mentioned motors and how Plasma Dash is the strongest motor ever here in the Philippines. There are a lot of motors that atomic tuned. Atomic tuned is one of the motors that I really wanted to get, but for the tuned type, I think it's one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive, because atomic tuned balance massive speed with stability. It doesn't sacrifice speed for stability in corners, but it actually had both. But it just all of them doesn't compare to the Plasma Dash. It's just so insane. The RPM for Plasma Dash is just like fucked up. And there are other motors such as what are the things that I keep on seeing here? Yeah,
isn't there like a very weird motor like the Touch Dash?
Touch Dash, I think
like it doesn't sort of start up unless you actually do something to it.
One of the unique trait of these motors that it can switch on and off itself.
Yeah,
the motor can be switched on by pushing the mini 4-wheel drive cart forward. So unless you push it, the car forward, it won't start. But it's kind of unique in that way because it lets you feel that you're actually controlling your car.
Yeah,
it's fucking hard to stop either because you need to if it only switches off under extreme loads.
Yeah,
so sometimes when the races involve like 40 laps, Touch Dash cars will just turn off.
Also,
and it's annoying.
Also, the Touch Dash. Say for example, your car sort of hits a snag and gets stuck in a corner. Of course, it will experience this sort of massive trauma on the engine. Like it's going to be under great stress. So it's gonna turn itself off once that happens. Unlike with the Plasma Dash, when you set your car on the racetrack,
you just see a blur.
Yeah, you just pray. You pray that car doesn't fly off. And the only way to stop this is for you to just put your hand on the racetrack and just catch your car. Just catch it.
A lot of people break nails because of the... Yeah, seriously. And according to the wiki, along with Ultra Dash and Jet Dash, it was banned from use in official races. due to its overwhelming performance. And according to the wiki itself, it is currently the most powerful motor Tamiya has ever released. Ever since 1996. Nobody fucking beat, or nothing fucking beat the Plasma Dash. Ever. It's that insane.
But do you know anyone who made this motor work for them? Like,
Yeah.
who could actually use this?
A lot of FM types use Plasma Dash a lot.
Oh.
Because what they just needed, the Plasma Dash offers the stability in the front, and at the back they just need to reinforce a lot. So FM motors, again, you can't fly using front motor.
Yeah.
It just slides down. But for rear motors, the classic chassis, they just fly off a lot.
And I think yeah, that would work, especially since the Plasma Dash is like one of the heaviest as well.
Mhm.
It's like super heavy, but it's the power that it gives is extreme.
The RPM for that is just extreme. You can't go wrong with fucking Plasma Dash. I know, you can go wrong a lot with Plasma Dash, but once you control it, it just murders everything, and it's so annoying to what do you call this? To go against with, because a lot of Plasma Dash is also one of the most expensive motors ever. And whenever we know that there's a stable Plasma Dash player in the competitive fields, we know that he's a fucking rich kid, and he can provide his mini 4-wheel drive with a lot of bearings and a lot of metal plates and a lot of erasers, stoppers, just to make it stable. It's just for kids like us, it's annoying, and for kids like me, who got their toolbox stolen. I won this race one time in Caloocan. Then instead of getting the prize money, they got my toolbox. I mean, a toolbox mo. Why not the money? Why the toolbox? So it
was so big back then.
Yes,
I remember
so big.
There were a few kids who were like selling Tamiya cars on the sly. Like they became this sort of underground dealers.
Yeah. They suddenly became merchants. And they said, Kuya, do you want to buy this? I give it to you for 7K. Oh, wow.
I remember I was like in first year or second year high school, and this kid from the 5th grade like approached me, and he just said, Kuya, naghahanap kayo ng kotse, di ba? Sabi sa akin ng kaibigan nyo, nasira yung fire stinger. And he sold me the rising trigger.
How much did you get it?
Back then, I think it was 200 or 300.
Just no motors.
No motors, no nothing. But it had Tamiya FRPs.
Okay. So it's
FRP
legit.
plates.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind enough to provide me with basic upgrades to the rising trigger. And
as long as you don't put another Plasma Dash in it, it won't break.
I remember when people started using motors from toys, and they would just have some electric shop rewind the shit.
But it's so fucking weird. But it's so strong.
Powerful.
It's so powerful. It's fucking weird. I had a friend who used like the motor for, what do you call this? Remember the motor for the fishing thing?
Oh yeah.
Then it just got rewound.
Yeah,
and I told him, you can't fish with it that fast. How did you make it that fast?
I remember these electric shops, these electric repair shops, they would rewind your shit.
Yeah.
and you'd get a really super powerful motor that doesn't have any branding on it.
It's just regular dynamo.
But I remember, isn't that banned from competitions?
Yeah,
you had to actually...
You need to use a Tamiya certified motor.
Yeah.
Back then, and an Aldi motor.
Yeah, but most of the events were Tamiya events back in the day. It's
just Tamiya back then, back in the day. Because Tamiya was the first ever and the most popular brand. When you say Tamiya, you have a original, and all other brands were like Tameme. They were Tamemes.
You actually looked down on other racers
that
who
was
used
so bad.
other brands aside from Tamiya.
Yeah, speaking of which, when it comes to other brands, the first and foremost was Aldi.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Aldi. Back then, Aldi started as a quote unquote cheap knockoff to Tamiya. It was cheaper, but guys, remember, these are just toy cars. Aldi provided a much cheaper alternative to Tamiya,
Mm.
but the quality is the same.
Hmm?
No, not joking. They have their own chassis, their own. It just the design wasn't that good,
Yeah.
but the performance of the chassis and the placing of the slots for bearings for rollers they're identical to a lot of the chassis that Tamiya provided. Yes.
Well,
Excuse me.
remember that time when Oldie was starting out? They were ripping off the original Tamiya designs. Like you had
Aldi Tulak.
yeah, you had Sonic Saber, Magnum Saber,
Tri-Dagger.
Tri-Dagger.
I think that was the first one I saw.
But all of them were under Oldie. They had this. If Tamiya had the red and blue stars, Tamiya had the red and blue diamonds.
Aldi had them.
Yeah, Oldie had them.
Diamonds.
And I never bought the oldie stuff, to be honest, but I was like, one day, I was surprised that they had their own commercials. Suddenly, oldie from being, I have to say that they were bootleggers when they were starting out, but they stepped out of that. From what I've seen, they actually
developed their own.
Yeah, they thrived in the RC
Mm.
RC scene because Tamiya wasn't doing a lot of that, or rather, there were
Tamiya Mini 4-wheel
Yeah.
drive RCs, but they weren't the only one. There were a lot of companies before them. There was Okami.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when oldie came out, people had a cheaper alternative.
So, what Oldie did was presented one of the oldest tactic in the book. Present people with a cheap alternative, a cheap but good alternative,
Mm.
and just take it off from there. And that, so guys, in today's times, you can use all the products now instead of just purely Tamiya. And what's happy is that even at these times, Mini 4-wheel drive racing is still thriving here in the Philippines. There are a lot of community. It's not a huge thing like back then. Like everything there's even, it's large. A trend is large here in the Philippines when you have an Eat Bulaga segment about it. Like before there was the Dance Dance Revolution, you have a Eat Bulaga segment about it, and they had a Mini 4-wheel drive racing segment about it. But now there are a lot of people that still plays with them. And what's really good with Mini 4-wheel drive is, again, like I said earlier, it connects people, like dads, kids, moms, or whatever, or fans alike, into really close bonding. It's not just a toy for adults. Again, it's basically a toy, and I don't know. It's just a beautiful thing to watch parents and kids bond over something so technical as a Mini 4-wheel drive.
Now, you say, well, in a kid's hands or a child's hands, a Mini 4-wheel drive can be a really good toy for them. However, what's good about it about this hobby is that if you get serious with it, there are a ton of options for you. There's a ton of options for you to experiment with. There are literally a ton of accessories that you can use to upgrade and reinforce your cars. And there are still events, even here in the Philippines, that host races for Mini 4-wheel drive cars. Now, I actually bought, out of nostalgia, I actually bought I can't remember what the model was, but it's a newer car. And the reason why I bought it is because it looked cool.
What is it? Wait, so just keep on talking. I'm gonna try to look for it.
Yeah,
It's not here. I think it's on the.
it's most likely in the corner that we cannot reach because I had to shelve it because
Yeah, I think once you have it here and you can see that you have the time to unbox and make it, you're gonna get addicted, man. Like seriously, it's gonna bring all the nostalgia back, and what you didn't do before competitive racing. Now, knowing you'd get addicted so fast.
yeah, the reason why I shelved it is because I went to this store, right? I bought the car itself, and the store sort of sells the accessories as well,
Mhm.
the upgrade options, and there was like a ton of them in
It's
that
so
store.
good for
But
collecting.
you know that it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
That there's still a ton of other upgrade options out there that they don't have in their store, and I got afraid. I was afraid because I know that if I continued with this, I'm gonna spend money on this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna spend money on this because unlike back in the day, I was a very casual mini 4-wheel drive racer. I just did local circuits, but if I can, now that I'm earning money, now that I have
You
a
can
job,
actually spend things on it.
yeah, and the money that you can spend, you can just spend maybe $2,000 and come out with
A basic.
a decent
Mhm.
machine. But you know, the danger with this hobby is some of the parts are relatively cheap. If you're already working, you can like buy a new reinforced bumper for maybe
Mm.
200 or $100.
New sticky wheels.
Yeah, you can buy the back the rolling damper set.
Dampers.
It's just you can buy them piecemeal and like you can shop for it. It's going to be a shopping experience because there's literally, again, I'm sorry if I keep saying this, but really there's a ton because of upgrade options because this hobby has been around for what 3 decades now,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, 1982. Yeah.
and because of that, so many developments have been made to further advance the hobby. And if you visit a local event, you'll see that most of the participants are from the same generation of people who watched the anime and got and fell in love with it. But they kept at it. For me, I had to switch hobbies back then. I had to go to Gundam.
Mm.
I discovered Gunpla, and that's my main hobby aside from video games.
Yeah, I started going, or started playing skateboard back then because I don't have a toolbox anymore. It's just a bitter time for me, remembering how it got lost. It's just so bad, but I had fun. The fun experiences totally outweigh that mugging experience.
But it's funny though because I'm pretty sure you already had a cell phone back then.
Yeah, I have a Nokia 3310.
There
No,
you-
no. A Motorola something something. But it's still a cell phone.
Yeah.
And they didn't get that. They didn't get my wallet, which had 4,000 from my winnings.
Yeah.
They just got the toolbox. What the fuck? They don't even know if the toolbox, or maybe they know that it's a toolbox of one of the winning shit because in in North Mall, it's a really like, it's not an underground place where you race. Oh, underground place where you race. It's just you can race with people, but a kid going alone with a toolbox in his hand is gonna get mugged.
Yeah, they were probably also hobbyists and they were already eyeing your toolbox. They probably wanted your setup. That's
Yeah.
probably what they wanted because it can get so extensive that no one setup would be the same.
Mm-hmm.
People can
And-
customize this however they wish.
And winning setups are like gold.
Yeah,
It's
because
gold to
you
them.
don't need to change it because the track itself, really, the track does not change.
Mm.
It's the same track. If you master, if you create a setup for a specific track,
Yeah. It's
then
gonna
you're set.
own the
It's
other.
it's always gonna own that track unless somebody else comes up with a better setup. I don't know, but if you've already mastered that track, your setup is going to be good for that track all the time, and people are gonna, they're gonna be interested in your car and how you set it up.
They're gonna be interested in my car and steal it. I seriously like this Phantom Blade Black
Man.
Special. Look, it's Super Double X. Look at the difference. I'm looking at it on Wiki. See, it's seriously different.
Oh, you know how my car is right now? My
Is it
new
double X?
Mini 4-wheel drive? No. But you can actually snap off the front end and the back end. And just leave the car in the middle.
Oh,
So
seriously?
basically, you can configure a whole a setup for the front, and you can configure a setup for the back
Without removing the case.
without removing the case, the
Whoa.
gearbox, or the motor or the battery. You can just replace the wheels and the
Wow.
bumper
The
setup
bumpers,
right
yeah.
away. I think that's what they call the AR chassis.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to look for it later. But yeah, that's one of the quirks of
Aero
the-
type, the Aero type chassis, AR chassis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, so you're one of the. Again, it's based on the TZ, so you have your quirk inside you.
Yeah, look at it. It was released July 2012.
Yeah, I think yours is the Aero Avante.
And what
What you kept looking at. Yeah,
what
it's
you
one of these.
you can do with it is that you can snap off the
front or back
front
side.
and the back side independently from the body. So you can already configure a set. You can actually have different setups already configured, and you can just snap it onto the body.
Oh. So again, it's like the X before, where you instead of just the motors, you can have a combination of setup without removing everything.
I think it's a step beyond
It's a step
that.
beyond that, yeah. Basically, the aero set or the aero types, I think they're really into aerodynamics and heavy competitive. So you bought something for heavy competition.
The body itself looks very futuristic.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't find it right now, but
Yeah.
I already assembled it. But I didn't want to start this whole thing all over again.
Yeah, it's gonna be really extensive, and once you get into that, it's like Titanfall, fucker.
I no longer have time for these things. I already have too many hobbies. I have video games and then gunpla, and
You haven't even built a lot. You just bought.
yeah,
But actually, guys, here in the headquarters for PEP, we're gonna show you a snapshot of our headquarters. It looks so nerdy, so you're gonna love it. And we're gonna post it later or as after this episode, and you're gonna see our headquarters, and you're gonna know why Czar can't find anything.
I'm gonna post it in Facebook. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take a picture, post it in Facebook once we upload this
Mhm.
episode,
Okay.
and maybe I'll use the card that I have as the background for the video once I find it.
Damn, free, what do you call it? Free Tamiya sponsorship. So anyway, guys, that's it for mini 4-wheel drives. We've talked about the hobby, the anime, the parts, the experiences, cars we have, and its current state here in the Philippines. And it's still a big thing. It's not as big as before, but it's still big. So guys, if you're still playing mini 4-wheel drive, leave a comment below. And remember to talk to us even on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. Visit it if you like what you hear. Go on and subscribe. Push that red button. Smash that button. Can we get one like? One like on this video. One like.
Also, let us know what cars you had, what cars you like, and if you've competed in the local scene.
Mm-hmm. Or also on Facebook, if you post your best setup or your existing car, or your previous car, if you post it on Facebook and we like it, we're gonna pin it to the top of our page and promote your image along with it. Let's just say that it's a mini competition of who has the most exciting mini 4-wheel drive car here right now, and just for bragging rights that you got featured in a comedy page, an entertainment page. Okay, guys. So remember, this is John from Oh My It's John.
And this is Zar from Chinderi Beats.
Yeah, and I don't like the joke. It's a good episode. You don't need to fill it.
I think we can end this right here.
Yeah, okay. So bye, guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.